Hey guys, it's Rich with another Tarot Talk video. In this one, I will be discussing and doing a deck review of the After Tarot. First things first, this is the After Tarot by Pietro Aligo, Corinne Kenner, and artwork by Giulia Francesca Massaglia. I am so sorry if I butchered everybody's name, and I do apologize for that. I don't know the proper pronunciation for it. The After Tarot, and it is produced by Lou Scarabeo, and this is tarot 1 moment after. So it's like 1 second or 1 minute, 1 moment after the cards in the quote-unquote traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck. So this is going to be really enjoyable doing this side-by-side review of the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck and the After Tarot. So I am really excited about this review in particular, and I have been really wanting this deck ever since Angelo from the Pagan Perspective. Angelo did a review of this tarot deck on his video, and ever since I've seen that video, I've wanted this deck because I just find the concept so fascinating. Tarot 1 moment after. So first things first, packaging. You guys know, and I've said it before, I'm a sucker for a nice package. This is what I would consider a nice package. As you can see, I'm like sitting here playing with the box. I don't keep my tarot in a box, and you guys have heard me say that before if you've been watching, but I do appreciate whenever a publisher or a publishing company puts their product in a nice package. It does something for the quality. It gives pride to a quality of what you're producing, the type of product that you are putting out there. So I really appreciate a good package. Now, with that being said, no, my tarot does not live in its box. So in the future, I might actually use this box as a... that's not for viewing pleasure. So in the future, I may actually use this as a project, and I will do a video on that then. So, like I said, nice little packaging. The book fits in there, you know, has a little ribbon for the cards so the cards can come out. Much appreciated, really like it. The book is kind of substantial. I mean, it's not a very thick book. It is, let's see, 160 pages. So it's not terribly thick, but it isn't like really a thin book. It's not your little white book that comes with, you know, your usual tarot decks, the Rider-Waite-Smith type of little white books. So some things I have to say on this, and I'm looking at my notes here, is for one, it's over 150 pages, actually 160, like I said, of colored pages. I do appreciate colored pages. I think it just gives a little extra something whenever you put that type of time and effort into colored pages. But you know what? I can take or leave colored pages. If they aren't included in a book, that's fine. If pictures aren't even in the book, that's fine. I am looking at the book more for the content than the picture quality, but I do know that there are a lot of people out there that like colored pages in their companion books. So that is something that is always appreciated. I like the description of the timeline, Tarot 1 moment after. I do like that. That's, I believe, in the introduction. And it is separated into numbers rather than into suits. Most companion books, they like to separate it into major arcana, then minor arcana according to suits. This one takes a different route that isn't always easy for me to follow, because whenever I use a companion book and look at the cards, if I need to rely on the book and I want to go to it quickly, I look for, let's say, you know, 7 of swords. I want to turn to swords, the chapter on swords, and look for number 7. That's just me. But in this book, you actually have to go and look for the part on 7s, and then you have to find swords beyond that. It gives 1.5 to 2 pages per card, and that's a pretty substantial amount. I mean, it's not a lot, especially for a new type of take on the tarot. It's not a lot to give 1.5 to 2 pages per card. I would kind of like a little bit more. I'd always like a little bit more, but 1.5 to 2 pages is a decent amount, so I can't really fault them on not giving enough of a meaning or enough of a description on the cards. So it is appreciated that they give that much, whereas some companion books only give a little blurb, especially for the minor arcana. So it is appreciated that they do that. It does not give reversal meanings. So if you're like me and you like to read reversals, I think it adds a little bit more depth. There are certainly many tarot readers out there that are fully capable and great tarot readers that they don't do reversal meanings, and that's fine. That works for them. But for me, I've always liked to read in reversals. So for me, I'd really appreciate whenever an author puts in a reversal meaning, and they don't do that in this book, which I would have liked to have seen. That is one drawback of it. Now, let's get to the cards. And I will actually bring you guys down so we can examine the cards and talk about the cards whenever you are down here by my hands. Okay, so here I have the actual deck, the comparison, the Rider-Waite-Smith, and I just wanted to show you guys an up close of the book. And like I said, it is all in color. All the cards are in color in the book, so it's a nice little book. I do enjoy a good companion book, so I am anxious to read this and get more in-depth knowledge into the deck in and of itself. I've read a little bit of it, but I haven't really sat down and actually read this book yet. I only picked this deck up probably a little over a month ago, as of the time of this recording. So, and here's the box. Like I said, I love it whenever they put in a little ribbon. I'm a sucker for a good package, and it's a nice box. My tarot probably will not live in this. Most likely it will not, but I have plans for boxes like this, so that'll get set aside. And here's the actual deck. They give an invitation for the Tarot Association that you can get, it's an invitation, so you get 15% off or something like that. So if you do buy a Lo Scarabeo deck, you do get one of those. I think with every deck, I'm not sure. At very least, you get it with this deck. So if you want to save 15% on a yearly membership to the Tarot Association, which I will probably be purchasing my yearly membership here soon, then you can go ahead and get this deck and you get 15% off and a really cool deck. So this is the little cover card that they give. I'll probably end up using this as a bookmark. I do like my tarot bookmarks. And I'm going to use this as a comparison for the height and width. If you can see here, I hope you can see, I hope the lighting's good enough that you can see. There is some difference on the width, but not really on the height. So yeah, the height is the same. The width is a little bit wider on the more traditional, quote-unquote, Rider-Waite-Smith. The backs are reversible. It looks like it's fully reversible, so that is always appreciated whenever they go through the trouble of making a reversible back. It is a nice looking back, so I have no comments, negative comments at least, on that. The thickness of the deck, It's a little bit thicker than the Rider-Waite-Smith from US Games, so a little bit difference. The cardstock, if I can get my life together here, it is obviously a little bit thicker, has a matte finish. It's not a glossy finish, definitely not the overly glossy finish or the plastic type finish that the older Rider-Waite-Smith has, that I actually prefer because I like the way that it feels and everything. It gives me a sense of that it's a little bit more protected whenever I am having, like right now I have a cup of coffee next to me, and yeah, I kind of like that a little bit more, because if I end up having a spill, then, you know, it's easier to clean up and all that stuff. I don't suggest ever, you know, intentionally spilling anything on your tarot deck, so yeah, I would never suggest that. So anyway, getting into the cards, let me go. Here you have the past and the or the present and the future. So I guess that's how we're going to, or the before and after tarot. Pun intended. So actually, I wonder if anybody's ever done a before tarot. That would be interesting. What happened a moment before the Rider-Waite-Smith deck? I would be interested in seeing that. If anybody is out there wondering for a tarot deck, do the before tarot, one moment before the Rider-Waite-Smith. I think that would be a fun concept to do. So yeah, I would like to see that. The before, the present, and the after tarot. So anyway, the Fool, you can see that he fell off the cliff, but he's not really worried about it. And I'm not going to go through every card and explain the differences, because you can definitely see them. I do like that they kept with the more traditional colors. It is a little bit different on the colors, and you can see some of the intricacies in the table here. You can see them a little bit more finely defined in the after tarot. I do like that. The lines are cleaner, they're sharper. I do appreciate the artwork within this deck. I really do. Did I mention who did this? I think I did. Yeah, I mentioned who the contributors were, because I butchered their names. Yes. I'm doing this recording the day after I actually did the introduction to the deck, so that's going to be the going rate for most of them that I do, at least until the beginning of August. So if you notice a little bit of a difference, that's why. And if I mention things more than once, that's why. I really, really like the concept of having the before or the current and the future. And I really love the detail that they did within even the clothing, how they sharpened the image. They made it a little bit easier to see what the image was in the Rider-Waite-Smith. They've just made it more defined in this. So I'm really appreciative of that, especially for anybody that likes to study the symbols within the tarot. It's a very much welcomed change. So, and of course in this one you will discover so many little tiny differences here and there, and a lot of them are purposeful, so be aware of that. Like this one, you have the stars in the background, you have the what looks to be a black dog or a wolf joining the hermit. His staff has changed into a snake. I would say that is probably a nod to Moses and his staff turning into a snake or a serpent. I'm not sure. I did not read the book into depth that much, so I don't know if that's an accurate interpretation. That's what I get just from looking at it right now. I just love the little tiny differences here and there. This one to me, again, not knowing if that's the artist's purposeful interpretation, is that this would be akin to Christ on the cross and the giving of wine to him, or the what was it, vinegar? I believe it was. But you see a woman with a jar, and I think Mary Magdalene. So, not keeping in the same context as the biblical stories, but that's kind of what first came to mind whenever I saw that. This one, I mean, all of these cards are just beautifully done. They kept to the same art pattern, the same type of artistry as Pamela Coleman Smith, which I really do appreciate. You know, this deck is just phenomenal, and I really cannot wait to just delve more into this deck. And I will probably use them both in conjunction with one another whenever I go into depth of studying the tarot. So, I mean, this will definitely be more than just a reading deck. This will be a studying deck as well. I like how this judgment, not everybody is called into heaven. I do like that interpretation. I really do. It keeps with the dogmas and doctrines. Whoops. Sorry about that, guys. I didn't put this deck in order before I decided to show it, so I had to rearrange the deck, because I do my deck reveals from the elemental patterns. So I go swords, wands, cups, and pentacles. So I always have to rearrange the deck to correlate with the elemental associations. So that's just my little thing of why I have to rearrange them. Okay. Now, as I'm going through here, I'm also looking at these probably for only the third time since I've gotten this deck. So I'm also discovering new little differences here and there that are just fascinating little differences. And a lot of them are like little differences. With this one, you have the sword that is a little skewed, and there's a butterfly on the top, and she's noticing it. So stuff like that. The bird is closer. You know, it's the little details in there that are just fascinating to me. I really appreciate that the artist went through so much time to keep it close to the original art style of Pamela Coleman Smith. Oh, looks like they're leaving the party. Everybody's tired of fighting. He drops the rods and takes a knee, or sits down, takes a rest. And these are just my little interpretations, just looking at them, like I said, probably for the third time since I've gotten this deck. The positions that are seen in this one are, one's a side view, one's a front view, so yeah. In some of these, like I usually say, if you read with which direction that the people are facing, this will definitely impact your reading differently than a more traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck. So be aware of that if that is something that works its way into your readings. He didn't accept the gift. He took it and he threw it away. Let's see a person down here. I mean, these are just wonderful illustrations. I love the interpretations that I'm starting to get just by looking at them. The one thing that I will say was a big question about this deck whenever I first got it, and it seems to be that the artist's intent was more to keep with the original meanings, or the more commonly associated meanings with the tarot decks. It seems to be that is the way that the artist intended, or the contributors to this deck intended. However, for me, whenever the picture changes a little bit, it can impact dramatically into the interpretation of the overall card. So I don't know if the interpretations that I would get in a reading for these would necessarily jive with the common meanings. This would kind of, such as for the Four of Pentacles here, we have death that has arrived and he's still holding on to all of his goods, his money. So for me, this would be more of a future type of reading, like this is what's going to happen if you continue to do this. You're going to die with all your possessions, but you know what? You can't take them with you. This one here is more of, hey, you're holding on to everything. You can't really move forward until you let go of some of this stuff. Whereas this one, he can let go and he can move, but death is right there, breathing down his neck. So for me, the interpretation is more of a future type of interpretation of what is about to happen rather than what is happening and a potential future. This is more of like a solid type of future. I hope I'm explaining that correctly. I really am. But to me, it changes the meaning of the cards whenever you have something that is one moment in the future, one moment after the more traditional scene. I don't know if anybody else gets that impression either, but that is just the impression that I get. And yeah, I mean, I will definitely use these in a reading. I definitely will, or at least I'll try to. And if I end up saying, you know what, they're not for me, I will still definitely use these for studying and doing my studies into the tarot. So, because, as I've said before, I am a constant student. That's just me. Shuffleability, I think this might be the first time I've ever shuffled these cards, so already everything's flying all over the place, not really liking that. They're a little bit harder to shuffle, not drastically harder to shuffle. They're not that much thicker than a regular tarot deck or the more traditional Rider-Waite-Smith. They're a little bit thicker, but they're not so much thicker that they are difficult to shuffle. I think it's because this is the first time I'm shuffling them. Bridge shuffles fairly well. No complaints on that. Like I said, I think this might just be because it's the first time they're getting shuffled that it is a little bit more difficult right now for me to shuffle them. So let's try this out here. Yep, not too bad on the shuffle. So just a little bit on the side-to-side shuffle is a little bit more difficult because of the size, and I think because they're still new, they haven't really been broken in. So I really cannot wait to get to use this deck. I love the artwork on it. I very much appreciate that somebody has gone through and done this concept of tarot one moment after, presented in the After Tarot. So I really love that they did this concept. I'm really excited about this, and I really cannot wait to delve into this book. Like I said, the only drawback that this book has is that it does not give reversal meanings, and the way that everything is laid out, I would have rather had them majors, minors, and then on from there. So I mean, I can get over that. That's no problem. And the reversal meanings, yeah, I can get over that. But I do appreciate that they made a reversible backing to it. Totally appreciated. I love that they did this concept. I really hope somebody is doing a before tarot and doing kind of the same theme one moment before the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. So I think that would be a fun concept. If anybody is out there looking for a tarot deck concept that they want to create, I would definitely suggest that. I think it's a fantastic type of way to do the tarot. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye with love, hugs, and ladybugs. Bye-bye.